It was.
Did it kick over?
I always like to take a drink so I can see like when it picks that up, so I know what the delay is. Okay, there we go. So we're pretty much just a few seconds delay. Tim is in the house in YouTube. All righty.
All right.
All right. So I'm author Elizabeth Ann West with Future Fiction Academy, and with me is joining me is Steph Pajonas, another AI.
Hi, everybody.
Yay. All right. So let's talk about this.
I didn't get to read it, so you'll have to tell
me. I know you
didn't
get to read it. So this is the October 2023 edition of Vanity Fair, and I was just teasing Steph that I think that they made a magazine just for me, because there's a whole spread in here on English country houses, and then there's an article right after that on AI, and I was like, are they stalking me? Are they? I mean, I'm not kidding. Like, it actually has pictures on the inside of these estates. I'm like, that's all I ever like to look at. So thank you. So this particular article has a quote from Senator Chris Murphy that said, just reading a little bit of this for fair use, of course. The quote is, "There are really deep spiritual questions at hand here." He's talking about creatives using AI. "I don't think policymakers should be shy about talking about that," Senator Chris Murphy told me. "When you start to outsource the bulk of human creativity to machines, there comes with that a human rot." Murphy has been one of the most outspoken senators about AI, regularly writing about his concerns, and he's on numerous subcommittees that are probing how AI will affect society. I want to talk to Senator Murphy.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And then later on in the article, it does kind of put a counterpoint in there, which is kind of the counterpoint that Steph and I agree with. Creatives need superpowers. There's this long-standing myth that you must suffer for your art or suffer for whatever you create for humankind. And we're finding a lot of genre fiction and stuff like that. You don't have to suffer at all. You can just share joy with people. On top of that, it's my profession. It is how I have kept my lights on and paid and fed my kids since my divorce for 5 years, is writing books. So why shouldn't I have technological advances just like every other industry gets to make my life easier? Steph, if you had any thoughts?
I agree with you 100%. I've never been a big fan of that whole starving artist mindset that you have to suffer and like bleed onto the pages for your work. I think that writing brings me joy. It brings readers joy most of the time, unless you're really upset with whatever you've written, right? And that these tools are here to help me get my ideas from my brain to the page, because there was a disconnect when I went through brain fog after having COVID. And it's definitely not making me less creative. If anything, I've been super creative, like 200% or more since I started using AI tools. It's like opened up a whole world for me. So I don't feel like it's farming out creativity at all. If anything, it's making me more creative.
Yeah. And I always have this question. I wish I could ask Senator Murphy, and maybe one day I will be able to. Sir, what creative endeavors have you created, and what creative endeavors have you attempted to create with AI? Because I think a lot of people have strong opinions about AI without any practical knowledge of it or practical experience of it. They just, there's a saying, opinions are like a certain body part that everyone has one. And I think a lot of people, they want to share these positions of like, oh, AI bad, but they've never tried it. They've never learned how it works. They've never used it for their own art or their own creativity, whether it's brainstorming or just anything that you want to use it for.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
Senator Murphy, if you're available, I'd love to have a chat.
Give her a call.
Yeah. The Future Fiction Academy would like to talk to you. And I used to live in Connecticut. I'm not a constituent there anymore, but I did actually own a house once upon a time in Ledyard. So I lived there for 3 years. It was great. Okay. So negativity aside, we'll just wipe all
let's
that
just
away.
put it aside.
No?
Put it away.
Wipe it all away. We're going to talk about some of these llama models, because we have in the house a llama herder, a llama.
I've been shepherding the llamas quite a bit.
Yeah, lately. There's just so much AI that basically the founders, all of us have kind of, our interests have allowed us to kind of specialize in different things. So Steph here has done a lot more work on the prompting with specifically with these llama models that are available through OpenRouter AI. And we had a user, I'm not sure if they've joined us on the live, so I don't want to like say their name or anything like that. Let me see if they're in the chat. Okay. a user in our Discord talking about how they really want to keep Mythomax on track. Like it keeps going amok. And you had a really funny, I want you to do it again. Please do it again. Please do it again. What model do you suggest?
It was the metal llama.
The metal llama. Yes, we are two middle-aged women with our metal hands. I think we even did it wrong because it's supposed to be, this is metal. This is I love
like
you.
this, yeah.
No, we even did it wrong. We did it like such moms. It's the I love you. It's the Barbie model.
Like it could be like little not even horns, but like their little ears. Yep. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So yeah.
Like the llamas. Okay. So let's talk about the llamas and stuff. What have you found about these different models that are different from what we're used to with OpenAI or Claude?
Okay, so what I found with the Meta llamas is that they're a little bit. I don't want to be mean to them, but they're a little bit dumber.
They're dumb.
Than the OpenAI models, the Anthropic Claude. They don't think as well. They tend to lose their context pretty quickly within a couple of iterations of your prompting, right? So what I've found doing a little bit of experiments with them is that if you give them a really robust system message every single time that you prompt them, and a system message in all of these LLMs means you're telling the system what you're going to be doing before you start prompting them. It's like it's a way of sort of like priming the pump, right?
Yeah. Putting it
getting
in the right
in the mood. You're getting it in the mood, right? So, for the prompting.
On the last hour, and I know you weren't able to make it, but I did actually like an Elizabeth prompt, write me 15 scenes in Mythomax that has sex, werewolves, and murder. And then we did one that had the system prompt in there, and we got a much richer outline from it. So if you watch the previous hour, you'll actually see this contrast, but we'll do this even more. So I'm going to go ahead and add, if you're cool, I'm going to go ahead and add the screen to the stage, and we'll start playing a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but like I was saying, it was like a robust system message. Every single time you're in Llama, you tell it what you're doing, what you're looking for. And then therefore, when you start writing, it keeps it on track better. And especially the Meta Llama, it's like 70B, which is one of their bigger models, tends to stay on track and understand what's going on better than the smaller ones.
So this is a prompt that we ran in the last hour. This was with no system prompt. This was just give me an outline of 15 scenes. And you can see it wrote like a sentence. I was actually impressed because a few weeks ago when we played with Mythomax, we could not get it to write us. We could not get it to write us an outline to save its life. So we were
it's definitely gotten better in the last couple of weeks, right?
I was fully expecting to have to bring in an outline as an example and then say change this outline. Then this one had the system prompt in there. When the system prompt said you were good at brainstorming, writing outlines, and creative thinking. And look at how richer the information is. Comparison. Let me open this one in a new tab here. Open in a new tab. So we can kind of compare. So the beginning here, the story begins with a young woman, Lily, waking up in a cold sweat from a nightmare. She lives alone and is haunted by visions of a werewolf attacking her. The one that had the system information here is that the introduction is meet the protagonist, Lyra, a strong-willed and independent woman who works as a detective in a small town plagued by mysterious werewolf attacks. Establish the setting, a quiet, picturesque town. Now, I will say that there's differences in them in the sense that this one, it gave more of like outlining, and then this one gave me more of scenes. Like this is actually a scene. So what I'd really want to do is kind of kit bash them together in a perfect world. Like I would go, okay, this is the introduction and this is how you're gonna have to do this. Although this one has Ethan and this one has Lucius. So we'd have to figure out Ethan and Lucius. I like Lucius and I don't like Lily and I don't like Lyra. I want a new name for her, but that's okay. We'll worry about that later. These are like little pet peeves of mine where the names are always the same. All right, let me check in the chat.
But it said it in Willow Creek. That's what I want to know.
It did not, but it was. So somebody asks in the chat, how would you kit bash these in Rexy? And that would be, I would create a custom prompt for that, which I can kind of do in just a second here. But the Willow Creek, I wanted to talk to you about this. So last night, I went down a rabbit hole of Okay, I was sitting on my couch and I just went down a rabbit hole of like all these comedies on Netflix. So I watched
Mhm.
Begin Again with Keira Knightley and Mark Ruffalo. Great movie. Loved that movie. I highly recommend that movie. It's like a little
Okay.
indie darling.
I'm
'Cause-
writing it down.
So I love movies where you don't have to have romance all the time.
Mhm.
So I won't spoil it, but like I think it's a really good movie. The other one that I watched last night was oh, what was it? Okay, y'all can laugh at me. Hot Tub Time Machine.
Oh, Hot Tub Time
I
Machine.
I've never seen that.
Yes.
Now, this movie is from 2010, so I'm going to spoil it just for a second, you guys. At the very end of the movie, okay, when it gave him the Google Maps, like your Google map, if you look at
Mhm.
the address in there, it's like 1678 Willow Creek Drive.
No.
Yes. And
No
this movie
way.
was done in 2010. So I think there's some secret like depository of Willow Creek material. I think Willow Creek has been used as a placeholder in some other sphere that's how it somehow got into the training data. And we're talking the Willow Creek joke, guys, for those who don't know, is the AI always like names the small towns Willow Creek.
Always.
And so I was so it's almost like it's become like mythology here of like the 555 phone number kind of a thing. I think that there's some secret Willow Creek phenomenon that we were not aware of, and now we're just seeing it with the AI. So sorry for the
Willow Creek will live forever.
Willow Creek will live forever.
Mhm.
Let's kit bash. So
Yes.
the way I'm going to kit bash these is I'm actually going to use my end slots. So let me show you what that looks like. So on my
Yeah,
auto
let's
right
show
here.
them.
Oh, go ahead.
Let's show them setting up those end slots.
Yeah. So on this Sunday Fun Day, that's the project that we're working in. And apologies for my dogs. I am looking at offices on Tuesday. So hopefully I'll have my office outside of the home again soon. And I will have better recordings then. So Sunday Fun Day, this is my auto write. Sunday Fun Day, this is my this is all the information for my project here, including 21 Blackjack. But this auto write page has the 2 pages so far. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to create a Notions 21 page here. So I just do a slash and a page in Notion, and I'm going to put Notions 21. Now, for those of you asking, why, Elizabeth, would you create a new page here? And the reason for that is because my auto write is going to populate more and more documents as I'm working with the AI, and I don't want it to get confused. So since I want these to be on my Notions page, I just, this is why I love Notion. I just grab this page and I just drop it in there, and now they're there. So let's go ahead and denote these a little bit. We'll say that this was no system. So I know, and then this was system. So it had both of those. Now, the other thing I teach all the time is let's go ahead and give it context. So with the word banger here and MIGs, you're going to say like, hey, so we'll call this simple outline. It didn't have a system prompt. Actually, let's call this a scene outline.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. And then we'll put this here. Okay. Now, one of the problems is that it is numbered. I think this is going to be okay for the Notions 21, and if it's not, then we'll fix it. But I think it's going to be okay. It's just simple numbering. And then the Mythomax personal prompt here. This should be fine because it's Roman numeral. So I'm going to go that this is like story outline, like I don't know, story brief. Let's call it the story brief.
Yeah, call it a story brief. That's good.
Because this is really more about like what the story is. It has setting information and all of that. So here's what we're going to do. We're actually not going to use Mythomax for this unless we want. I don't know if Mythomax can. I should be able to do it for the context window. So in order to bring this into Rexy, I'm going to need this URL. And the other thing for all Notion pages that you want to bring in, because you could actually make Notion pages outside of your superstructure, believe it or not, you just have to make sure that they're connected to your Rexy. So in our onboarding and in our information about connecting with Rexy, you put your Notion key into Rexy, but then you also, any pages in your Notion that you want to share into Rexy, they have to be connected to that integration that you created. So this one is connected, so I'm good. All of your child pages of pages that are connected will have the connection. So let's come into Rexy, and I already logged in, and you'll notice that my keys are all checked. We talked about this the last hour, the new pre-flight check, basically. I can tell right here that my projects aren't loaded and my auto write's not turned on. So if I go to my project section, Sunday Fun Day, I could choose any of my projects, like the Orc Mafia romance series that we were working on Friday. But we can go, or was it yesterday? It was Friday.
It was Friday. It was Friday.
It was Friday. Yesterday I taught at an online conference, but the days are just all blending together.
They are.
I'm going to go ahead and click load my project. And as soon as it loads, you'll see I get that check mark on the notebook. Isn't that cool, Steph?
That's great. I love it.
We love Joseph. Now my auto write's not on, and that's fine. You don't have to have auto write on if you don't want it on, but I love it on. So we're going to turn that on. And it's not going to be Sunday Fun Day. Let's call this YouTube 1 p.m. So that way we know this was run at 1 p.m. Okay, now we're ready to rock and roll. So the request was to kit bash them together. So that's what we're going to do. I'm just checking the chat real fast. Gonna miss Dasha. Yeah, well, sometimes I might stream from home, but honestly, the dogs I think are distracting more so than anything. So we have Rexy. Let's go ahead and load our Notion slots. So we're going to come over here in the top right to Notion slots, or you can always reach this on your elements page. So these new icons here and kind of abbreviations kind of help for smaller screens. So you have your AI settings, you have your elements, you have your projects, and then you have your status. So your status kind of shows you more in-depth information. If the checkboxes don't make sense to you, you can always click the status thing to see what's missing.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go to elements. If I go to my end slot section, I can always click here to get access to my Notion slot editor. And so I'm right there, or you can get it in the top menu right here where it says Notion slots. All you have to do is paste in that URL. That's it. As soon as I paste it in and I click verify, it's going to bring those elements in, and I can always double check that the information came in correctly. See, it kept the simple numbering. This one, it kept the simple outlining.
Great.
So we're okay.
And I'm just going to reiterate that the URL was the URL of the page that holds the other pages right there, the Notions 21, just so anybody is not confused.
Yep, it's the page that holds the pages.
Yep.
Okay, so back to Rexy. So let's go ahead and kit bash these together. So if I use my prompter, I could do that. I could also use Word Banger. Let's go ahead and do Word Banger because I have a feeling I might see the results and go, I want more detail on that. Sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pick Mythomax because we wanted to give that one a shot, right? We wanted to work with it more. But you actually suggested a different one, right? You said the Meta
Llama 70B.
Mm-hmm. 70B.
Yeah.
Now, will that one do not safe for work, though?
Yes, it will. It's
okay.
Unfiltered.
So if you ever wonder about that, you can go to openrouter.ai. And in settings, you can choose the model that you're going to run. So let's go with Meta Llama 70B. And it'll tell you right here that the moderation is unfiltered. And the cost of this is 1/10. It's 15% of a penny for every 1,000 tokens. So 15% of a penny for 750 words, roughly. And it's on discount right now. So we love a good discount. OpenRouter will often run discounts. So usually this is 0.003, but right now it's 0.0015. Mm-hmm. And the context length right here tells me that it can only handle about 4,000 tokens in its input and its output. So it is a smaller model, so to speak. Oh, you know what, Steph? Is it stuck at only giving back 300 words?
That's a good question. I don't know. We should find out.
Okay. My suspicion is this thing's going to be stuck at only giving back 3,000 words. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and construct the prompt. I'll have my elements here, the Notion slots to make sure I have it here. And I'm going to say read N1, N2, and change the names of the characters so that the woman is, I don't want to do Samantha. What do we want to, how about Sylvia?
Sure.
Like a silver bullet. Ha, 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 ha. Actually, no, Sylvia means woods, not silver at all.
Right.
Sylvia is Latin for, yeah, I couldn't even do that. 4 years of Latin. And the male character is named What do we want to name
Hmm.
him? He's a werewolf. He's going to be
Right.
vicious.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking a bee name.
You're thinking a bee name?
Yeah. How about Bernard or Brad or I don't know.
Brandon. I
Brandon.
don't know.
There we go.
Okay.
Also, please write a cohesive outline that keeps the details of both documents, but blends them into one story. I want story information. Don't worry, I'm going to put a system prompt in.
Mm-hmm.
Story information and specific scene outlines for a 15 scene novella. Paranormal, dark, romance novella. Okay. Let me go ahead and
so I'm going to give you a quick edit. I think
yeah,
that
absolutely. Hold on one
in the
second. I just want to.
prompt,
Oh, go ahead.
sure. So in the prompt, you say both documents. I would say call it what it is, right? So you had it called scene outline and story brief. I would be
Okay, that's a good.
specific as possible because Llama, remember, is a little dumb.
Yep.
So.
And this is how I edit my prompts all the time. I start off with a sketch, a draft, and then I
Mm-hmm.
go in and I make it more specific.
Yep.
So that keeps the details of scene outline and story brief.
Okay.
And I'm not going to say but. Let's go. That keeps the details, blending them into one story.
That's a
I
good
want
idea.
story information and specific scene outlines for a 15 scene paranormal dark romance novella. And let's go ahead and throw that system header in here, shall we?
Yeah.
And this is just basic tagging 101, everyone. So Llama specifically uses those alligators. It's a double alligator. Double alligator.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time you'll see me do square brackets. I use square brackets when I'm just talking about an element like the scene outline and everything. And the reason I use square brackets instead of squiggly brackets or parentheses or alligator ones is because square brackets are specifically for arrays in mathematics. And so the training data is not going to have square brackets used in any other, shouldn't have square brackets used in any other use other than this information all goes together.
Yes.
Angle brackets could be in the training data as HTML. It could be in the training data as plus then minus then. It could be in the training data for different like markup and everything like that. So there's a lot of different ways that those tokens could be misinterpreted. Same thing for squiggles, the curly braces. Curly braces are used in JSON formatting. They're used in a bunch of different programming languages. So we use the single curly brace to reference our elements that are in our memory spots, but this does not actually get parsed over to the LLM. They never see the squiggle bracket. What they see is scene outline or story brief. They see the information that's in the box. They don't ever see the curly brace.
Yeah. Curly brackets denote a variable in most programming languages. So that's what we're doing. We're taking the information that's in the end slot and we're replacing it with the curly bracketed N1 or N2, whatever.
Yeah, well, we don't replace it. It replaces with the information that's there in the box. It doesn't actually ever send over the curly brace N1 to the
exactly. We're doing the replacement on the back end. That's that's Rexy working in the back end.
That's Rexy. That's the dino's job.
That's the dino's job.
And then finally, parentheses. Parentheses also have a use case in training data. We use parentheses as grammar for an aside or for citation and things like that. So that's why I don't use parentheses for like, here's my scene outline, use parentheses. This is the reasoning I have behind using square brackets specifically when I'm making elements of a prompt. Make sure there's any chat questions here. Oh, okay. So Notion 21, great. Oh, where Cynical Y Wolf calls the double chevrons. Oh, Migs, cute. I like your name. And Nicholas. Okay. What do you think of Bastion? Bastion. They suggested that name.
Yeah, looks
Yeah,
good.
I like that way
Go
better
for it.
than Brandon. No offense to any Brandons out there.
No, no, no.
But Bastion kind of sounds like bastard, so it kind of has that Bastion. Okay. So in our system prompt here and in llamas, they have to do the double chevron. I did not know that that's what that's called. Or a chevron? I've never called it a chevron. We always call it ankle
Well,
point.
I mean, chevron, like in fabric and whatnot, is the
Yeah,
like a wave pattern,
it is
right?
like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
But yeah, it's the double alligator brackets.
Listen, people out there, we have problems with the language used for your punctuation coding. Okay. I don't know
Please just
what
look and understand what we're saying,
you
because
need to come up
otherwise.
with names, okay, for your punctuation. All right. So in the system prompt, what do
Mm-hmm.
we want to tell it? That they
We
are
want to we want to tell it that it's like you're a best-selling author, or one of these things, like or you're an editor of best-selling books. You want to be really good at this kind of thing. I'm sure you've done this prompt before, so you're just going to fill it in.
okay. So you are a brilliant best-selling author. You can read outlines and story ideas and add in creative elements. You also keep great narrative logic
Mm-hmm.
so that tension builds over a story's beginning, middle, and end. You also write with graphic details about sex and violence because we want to
Okay.
punch it up because this
Mm-hmm.
is supposed to be sex, murder, and werewolves. Like
Yes.
that's the goal today. Okay,
Okay.
so this is my prompt, and so let me go ahead and copy and paste this to the main page for you all so that you have it. Give me 1 second here. I just got to get to the Tiny Arms Big Dreams. So this is session 2 on Sunday, and this is the prompt that we're doing for Mythomax. So this is in the top box. Now, talking about how this is going to work.
Right.
I'm going to read this box, and then it's going to read what's in the Big Bang box, which there's currently nothing in the Big Bang box. And then it's going to read this bottom box, and that's going to be one instance. If this model can only write back 300 words, we're only going to get 300 words. And that's okay, because what I will do is I will modify the prompt. I'll keep the top part to help keep the constraints. And then in the bottom box, I'll say continue where you left off. And that will allow it to basically to sequence itself, bangs, and we'll do it one at a time. So we'll go to our AI settings. We're in the metal llama, because it's meta llama.
It sounds like metal llama.
Metal llama 70B. The temperature, I think 1 is probably a little too high. What do you think, Steph?
I agree. Keep it down a little bit.
Yeah, we want to bring it down to 0.7 because we're doing a very analytical situation here.
Yeah.
Top K, we're not worried about it bringing in.
Nope.
That chops off the bottom results, so
Yeah.
we don't want to do that. Higher than 5%, it just won't consider any token that is like got less than a 5% chance of being in the writing, the response. Top P, it's going to consider all possibilities, 100%. If you bring that number down, it's only going to consider a percentage of the tokens that are available to it. The repetition penalty is something that's new. We don't actually play with this very often.
No, we don't.
This is, I've always kind of kept it at 1, but I wonder if we bring it down a little bit, we'll see what happens, because I think that what this does is kind of like, it's like frequency and presence penalty combined into one concept there.
Okay.
So we'll click update so that my model is updated.
And then
I'm also going to go ahead and turn on auto write. Make sure that it's good there. Let's bang, metal llama's there. And the last little thing is I'm going to just check that my Rexy is ready. Make sure it didn't lose my projects or anything, and it is. So let's bang. And then I'll open up the compare so you guys can see what it does. Okay, I've taken the liberty of merging the 2 outlines into a single cohesive story. Oh, it changed the name, Sylvia. Good. And then we have Bastion. Part of a group of good werewolves who protect humans from evil. A passionate moment. Okay, so they're having sex in Sing 6, I think.
All right. Off to the races.
Rogue werewolves. That's actually not bad for a 15 scene novella. I mean, scene 6 is about when you would be getting it on. Final showdown. The novella ends with them standing together, stronger than ever before. Now,
It did
I
a
have
good job
questions.
of like giving out. That's a pretty robust answer.
Yeah, it's 530 words.
Yeah.
Okay. I still think that it's kind of more on par with that one document, not so much the other one. So,
Okay.
like, I think it did a really good job of this one, but I don't really think it brought in a lot of this.
Mm-hmm.
Other than, because like this had a secret society and everything. There's like no secret society in here.
Okay.
Unless they're redoing this about good werewolves. Scene 5. Let's take a look at the no system. Scene 5. Yeah, it literally just took the one. So I don't think it brought in enough elements of both of them. What do you think?
I think that it concentrated on your first ask, which was basically changing the character names, and then it started writing instead
Yeah.
of this is I feel like the llama models need multiple steps to get to the final destination. So I think you can start with saying things like change a character's name or change a setting or these sorts of things. And then for that next step, you got to talk about blending.
Yeah, because it broke in the choose the story brief, change the names of the characters. Also, please write a cohesive outline that keeps the details of scene outline and story brief, blending them into one story. I want
Right.
story information and specific scene outlines for a 15-word scene paranormal dark romance novella. So it didn't quite understand that it needed to do both. So
Mm-hmm.
we have this information here. So my next bang is going to have this information. It's going to have what's in the middle of the box. So let's go ahead and put a asterisk here so that's where the next bang will come. And then I'm going to give it more specific instructions here. And I'm going to say right here, add in elements from both scene outline and story brief. We'll put story elements. This includes secret societies and really dark details about the sex and murders. There we go. So we're going to just bang it again. And what this is going to allow us to do, this is a fundamental function of Word Banger. I already have this information in here. It's almost like a super chat. So it has this information of what it already ran. So it's going to read my instructions again. It's going to read what it already wrote, unless I deleted this out. But I kind of think it's going to need this to kind of hang on it, so it adds more detail. And then it's going to read the instructions that I say here of add in story elements from both scene outline and story brief. So I'm going to say rewrite the outline to add in story elements. And, I think we need to have, I think we need to define that outline. What do you think of like combined outline, or do we want to call it revised outline? What do you want to?
Yeah, revised outline.
Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this tag.
Mm-hmm.
This is why you can edit things live with this.
And put it around that.
Yep. I'm going to put it right here. So that's the revised outline, scene 1. And then when I get to right here, we'll close off the revised outline. So it's going to understand what it needs to rewrite. It needs to rewrite that revised outline, and it needs to make sure it adds in story elements from both scene outline and story brief. And those are actually labeled in this outline or this prompt right here. See, we have story brief called out, and then we have scene outline called out. So we're literally kind of kit bashing these together. All right, let's bang. Let me see if there's any questions in the chat about what we're doing. Smart thinking. Didn't 8 have secret society, or am I just seeing things? Nope, you were right. It had a secret society. So here we go. Now it's bringing in elements from both. So now she's investigating the murders and she's having those nightmares. This is what we wanted. But we're back with Lily and Ethan.
Yeah, I noticed that. I think at that
you get one or the other.
Confuse him. Yeah, you can't confuse him. You have to, if you're going to do this, like in the future, like go back. I would go back and revise everything so that it has all the same names and everything. Like, try not to introduce too many things that are going to confuse it, because it is a very simple, a very, very simple LLM.
All right, I'm going to actually call this successful. And the reason I'm going to call this successful is despite the names being wrong, because that's a minor change. Like
that's totally minor.
That's totally just like, okay, you got confused in the instructions. I'm not mad about you about that. So here, what I like about this is that one of the problems, and this was back, this goes back to validating what you're giving it. We didn't really take a lot of time to validate that. This particular story, the one without a system prompt, was very encapsulated. It was very much a novella. It was very like this all happens within a short period of time. Okay. The other one, let me go here. The other one was like, so we have the first encounter and then her doubts and then the truth about Lucius. He's not a murderer. So that's cool. The hunt, the showdown. And basically we're in chapter 8 that she becomes a werewolf herself. Or chapter 9, she becomes a werewolf herself. And then there's like this whole nother act after she becomes a werewolf that they're getting attacked by other supernatural creatures and stuff like that. So these are very different stories. And so I think that the LLM was going to have a hard time combining them together. And this is also goes to show like the limitations of this. All of this is giving me an opportunity to like, now I have enough stuff here that I would probably take about 45 minutes myself and sit there and grab the elements that I like, and I would like manually make changes to this. What do you think, Steph?
Oh yeah, that's 100% what I already do.
Yeah.
It's like I start with an idea, and then there's a brainstorming component with the LLMs where I'm calling up and I'm asking for things, and I'm trying out different plot elements, and then I get like a whole bunch of data basically, and then it's time for me to sit down and make my decisions about how I want the story to go based on what it's given me. Right? It's never like I'm never not a part of the process.
Right, exactly.
I'm very much a part of the process. Right? And making these things happen.
This is the part that I would want to say to the AI naysayers, to the Senator Murphys of the world, if you will, that this is what gave me 6 or 7 different ideas, but it's my job as the chief creative to go, does the scope of this story make sense for there to be these like vampires and witches now attacking in the final act that were not introduced in the beginning of the story? By the way, for my new writers, the answer is no. Do not do that. That is that's not okay. Now, if you're doing a novella series and you wanted to focus very closely on Ethan and I think this original one that had the no system, we had Marcus's werewolves attacking or whatever. If you wanted to do something like this and then at the very end kind of hint, oh, there's witches and vampires and stuff like that, so that you're building out this bigger story world, totally fine. But your last 3 chapters cannot involve fights with characters that were not established anywhere in the story except at the end. That's I mean, you can do it. No one's going to kill you, but or harm you about it. But
if you foreshadowed it throughout the book, if you hinted at it, and you maybe even gave a couple little clues here and there, sure, go for it. Like,
but if you did not,
it just can't come out of nowhere.
If you did not, readers you'll see in reviews and stuff like that, readers are going to say like that ending came out of nowhere, or it just leads to a poor reading experience because people feel like they're blindsided. And maybe that's the intent. That's when it comes to like, if you know the rules, you can break them. You can do that if it's like a surprise of like, yeah, you beat the werewolves, but now what about the witches and the vampires? Did you think about that?
These are all of the things that we have to take into account as authors. It's like understanding our craft, understanding storytelling, the promises that we make to the reader, fulfilling those promises by the end of the book. It's all super important. These AI tools are basically just helping us get from one place to another, but we have to know how to get there.
Yes, absolutely. We have to be able to evaluate the journey as we go. All right, so let me go ahead and save this. So it did say that, and we'll put the whole kit bash of 2 outlines together. So it'll save that. And then I also want to save the prompt basically. So
Yeah,
this
let's save
added
the prompt.
prompt that we did.
Because I think that this was the one there where it finally understood what you wanted. So
yeah, and if you do the inspections, you can see the request and you can see exactly how it requested and how it was passed over to the LLM so that it had this, and then change the names of the characters. I've taken the liberty of merging two outlines, so I probably should have taken that out so that it had the revised outline, and then rewrite the revised outline to add in story elements from both scene outline and story brief. This includes secret societies and really dark details about the sex and murders. And then this was the prompt. So this first part here is the role of the user and the messenger. And then it always has to duplicate like what the prompt is that gets sent over. So you can see that and what the settings were and everything. And then this is the response that thank you for providing the two outlines. We actually provided three. So that's where I think it got confused. Into a single cohesive story, incorporating the requested name changes and dark elements. And so here it wrote this. And they said that they added the dark. They congratulated themselves on what they did not do. So there we go.
Good job.
Good job, LLM. That's not what I wanted. All right. And let me go ahead and copy this too, because I want to go ahead and give the whole, what the final Insta was. So if I come back over to Tiny Arms, Big Dreams, this is going to be like a mega. So basically, mega prompts in WordBanger just naturally makes you your mega prompts and you're just working, especially if you're using your end slots and things like that. Into the WordBanger using end slots. Okay, and let me go ahead and paste the elements in here. So we had this, bloop, and then bottom box for Insta one. And this was the top box. So people can understand how it works. The middle box, I'll also go ahead and put I'll put at the bottom so you guys can see that one too. This was this one. Just rewrite it. We want more murders. More murders in the house. So it had that. And this was the big bang box. This is read in between top and bottom boxes. And let me go to Rexy. All righty. And then I'll come over to the chat and see if there's any other requests, because I think the next thing I want to do is I kind of want to take the work. I don't know if you were with me for that session. No, because you were with the first one. So you didn't actually get to see any of the work with the B slots, did you?
Nope, did not.
Okay, we have 15 minutes.
Do we want to flesh out this scene outline into like?
I'm gonna go with no right now, only because this is like it's a little bit of a hot mess.
Okay. Yes. It probably needs a bit of revision before anything else happens to it.
Yeah, this needs a human stat to go through it and be like, okay, we're changing this and we're changing that. I mean, we could probably work with the first couple of parts if we wanted to try to make Mythomax write these things. I would be okay with using that, with doing that. But let me check the chat in YouTube and make sure we're not missing, because we do have some people here sharing some things. So some questions is, yes, the slots do make kit bashing a lot easier, but kit bashing is still a very advanced task for the LLMs to do. And you may have to try your prompting a couple of different ways to try to see if you can get it to follow your instructions. Kim is saying that, Nicholas asked, if it stops midway for some reason, do you just tell it to continue? Yes. So what you would do is you would keep your top box, and then in your bottom box, you would say, continue going. So it would read the top box and it would read what it already has done. And then it would just continue, and it would keep writing over and over and over again. You would just go one bang at a time. Okay. You can, had my dear GPT-4 go off the rails last night. She had, Kimberly saying she had to edit her outline and feed it to the AI one act at a time. And then it was able to get back on track. That happens sometimes. Sometimes less is more, like you're saying, Kim. Absolutely. Senator Murphy is my senator. I did not know he's against AI. I'll have to look into that. Yeah. And honestly, I'm not trying to bash Senator Murphy. I think I think he just doesn't know. He may only be hearing from one side as well. That's
Mm-hmm.
entirely possible. Um, that's what I am finding over the last 2 years that I've been working with AI. People just don't know. They just don't know. So,
Mm-hmm.
Mig says, I wonder if one wasn't doing say for work, ChatGPT or Claude may have done better with these prompts. Yes, that is
Yes,
entirely possible. As a matter
absolutely
of
possible.
fact, do we want to give that a shot?
I mean, we could
So we have the
try
clean
Claude
outline.
or GPT-4.
So
I
I'm
mean,
going to reset this.
I mean, as it is, I think we're only alluding to sex and violence, right?
Right.
So it
And
shouldn't
even
choke
then,
on that.
because you're accessing through the AI, through the
Mm-hmm.
API, it
Yeah.
can actually do more things than what you get kind of hammered with. So we're going to do GPT-4 and we'll update. And this context length can actually be like 3,000 words. So I'm going to keep the prompt the same. The only thing I took out was the bottom part because we don't need that information. The system prompt, I think it's going to read it just fine. And then the bang box is empty. So let's go ahead and let's bang. And this will be the GPT-4 version. Okay, so it's scene and story outline. So it made her detective and it made her have nightmares. So far, this has ticked all 3 boxes. It has brought in elements from both. It has changed their names.
Yes. So what
She
I'm
goes to a local,
finding,
huh?
what I'm finding is that the open source models like the Metallamas and the Mythomax and whatnot, they're great if you need short amounts of text to fill in things like violence or
Mm-hmm.
sex, or if you're piecing stuff together, it can be good at like coming up with transitions between those places. But when it comes to more of like a high level thinking and doing more than one task at once, which is what this kit bashing is, the bigger models like GPT for OpenAI and Claude are going to be 100 times better. They just are. I mean, like this is still like it's still a burgeoning, like growing thing. So we can't expect these smaller open source models to be super robust because they just don't have the kind of resources behind them that companies like OpenAI and Anthropic do. So you're going to have to like be a little agile and bend with the wind on these and understand that if you want something that's going to be able to do something a little bit more complex, like kit bashing or think in high levels, you're going to want to go to some of the more robust models for that and then move on to the open source models for the smaller
pieces that you
pieces.
need that are not safe for work.
Yeah.
I hate to interrupt you, Steph, but my reaction of this was a OMG reaction because what you just talked about, it just did. What I asked when I said a human needs this. Okay, so let me recap. The not safe for work models, we had them make 2 outlines and it was good. I mean, it was just good material, individual of themselves. They were pretty decent outlines. So just to review, this is the no system one. This has it doesn't have her be a detective. She's got the nightmares. She meets Ethan. This one decides that she becomes a werewolf, I think. No, this was not the one where she becomes a werewolf. Just kidding. That's the other one. So she does not become a werewolf in this one. This one was very focused. This one was like girl meets werewolf. Werewolf says, I'm not the murderer, but there are werewolves who are murderers. Okay, let's go find them. That's the secret society. That's Marcus. We're going to fight Marcus. And then there's passion. They realize they can't be together. He can't risk hurting Lily. He leaves Lily alone in the woods, heartbroken. She tries to move on. Years later, she receives a message from Ethan. It tells her he's found a way for them to be together, but it involves leaving their old lives behind and starting over somewhere new, probably like the forests of Canada. And they meet Ethan, and then they're finally going back. They're finally figuring out a way together. Okay, this is very good as far as a beginning, middle, end. Very compact, all of that. This one is Lyra and Lucius. This one, she is a detective. No nightmares. And this one has that whole like expansive world that there is vampires and witches. And this is the one where she decides to become a werewolf. I think she becomes a werewolf here. Yeah, right here in chapter 8. She becomes returned to her human life. She's fallen in love with him. So she becomes a werewolf herself in chapter 9. Like, this is a completely different story. They're reunited as lovers. This is great. They fight for survival. And then we bring the witches and the vampires in, where they're fighting against each other. And then ends with them standing stronger, knowing that their love will be together and all of that. So,
okay.
So 2 very different stories, right?
Yeah. Yep.
We just talked about how a human has to like carefully craft these 2 things together and figure out what elements you could keep, what elements you would have to. By the way, the vampires and witches is right here in chapter 11.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Vampires and witches who covet their power. I think GPT-4 just did it. So let's go one at a time on here because I was reading it very quickly. So we have Detective, we have Nightmare, who's haunted by visions of a werewolf named Bastion, whom she's investigating for the attacks. She goes to a local bar. She meets Bastion. He's enigmatic, handsome, strangely familiar because he was in her dreams. I mean, this is all really good stuff. The initial meeting's electric, filled with sexual tension, despite her suspicions about him. They leave the bar together. And on their way home, they're attacked. Right? Yes.
Okay.
He reveals his true nature. He saves Sylvia's life. He's a werewolf, but not the one behind the attacks. Takes her to the cabin, explaining his innocence. I'm part of the good group of werewolves.
Sure.
They protect humans from evil werewolves and the ones responsible for the recent attacks. Spends more time with Bastion. They have deep passion. Fantastic. Discovers a hidden room filled with weapons and documents about the werewolves. She also uncovers information about a secret society orchestrating the attacks, causing her to question if Bastion's group is as innocent as they claim. Meanwhile, the leader of the evil, let's see here, Marcus's werewolves. Oh, the leader of the evil werewolves, Marcus, learns about Sylvia's discovery and plans to capture her. The town's dark underbelly of supernatural activity starts to emerge. This is that foreshadowing we were talking about. You can't bring vampires and witches in at the end if you don't foreshadow them.
Right.
So chapter 7 is where you're foreshadowing that there's more supernatural elements. She confronts Bastion. He says it's for her own good. She feels betrayed and confused. Marcus's werewolves attack the cabin, throwing it into chaos. Sylvia uses this opportunity to escape into the woods, but she's captured by Marcus, who plans to use her as bait to draw out Bastion. I mean, this is good stuff. This was not in either of the original outlines. Bastion realizes Sylvia's danger, rushes to rescue her. He faces off against Marcus, culminating in a fierce and violent battle where Bastion eventually kills Marcus, saving Sylvia. Now, this is really important. We're only at scene 10 out of 15, and we're already hitting, like, this is like perfect end of second act. Like,
sure.
Okay. Like, this is really good, high tension, high conflict, high action. Now what happens?
Yeah, we're going to do the turn at the act.
We're doing the turn. After the fight, they share a moment of relief and passion. However, their happiness is short-lived because Bastion insists they can't be together for her safety, leaving Sylvia heartbroken. And so that's exactly the story element that you would have next of like, love you, saved you, can't be with you because you're not
can't
safe.
Be with you.
This is a trope. This is such a trope of paranormal romance.
It is, but it works. Right?
It works. Sylvia tries to move on, returning to her detective work, but she can't forget Bastion. She continues investigating the secret society, determining to bring them to justice. Years later, she receives a message from Bastion. He reveals he's found a way for them to be together, but it involves leaving their old lives behind. Okay, they meet for a reunion. She decides to become a werewolf herself, choosing her love for Bastion over her human life. Their transformation is passionate, painful, and ultimately liberating. I think we need a little bit more story between here and there, but I'm not mad at it because this is what it had to work with.
Yeah. This is pretty good.
And then they are now werewolves and lovers, and they stand ready to face the challenges that come. And this is where you kind of foreshadow those vampires and witches or what have you.
Yeah, so, like that will be that's the next battle.
That's the next novella in the series.
Right.
All right, let's see what we have here. In the chat, we have you could write your not safe for work story without the sex and violence and the more robust models, and then use Mythomax and stuff for the steamy stuff. Exactly, Migs. That's 100%.
Agree.
So I'm really proud of this outline. I think this is a good outline that we could work with. And so I'm going to actually save it to this, and I'm going to say GPT-4 Kit Bash.
Yeah, combined outline
of the 2 outlines. Now we're going to abandon this story for just a second because we only have a few minutes left. And I'm going to actually load a different project because I really wanted to show this to you. So we're gonna load the Orc Mafia romance series.
Oh, good, because I
And
was wondering how that turned out. Let's see.
I'm going to click clear all. Clear all clears the instas and it clears the Big Bang box. So, and then just like a calculator, the clear only clears out the middle box. So once I load the Orc Mafia romance series, I need to come down here and load my Blackjack. Now this is some, as in the words of Christine Breen, this is crackers.
This is crackers.
This is crackers.
I can't wait to see it.
This is the crackers part.
So what did you put in your Blackjack 21?
I'm about to show you.
I'm excited.
I also broke a blackjack last night too and showed it.
Well, it's, you're not doing your job if you're not breaking it.
Okay. So I am going to have to reload my auto right here. I have my Notions 21. This has the story world for the Orc Mafia romance. This has the characters, which is Garrick, and an outline. So this is the idea of like orcs and fae people having casinos in a place that's like Las Vegas, but it's called Eldoria.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm going to bring my Notion slots in real fast because they're required for the Big Bang. So once I load these, I've loaded in my story world and my characters and my outline. And now I'll come back to my elements and my B slots. And you can see that my B slots are, please read the following story information, N1, N2, N3. And you can see right away that that's my story world, my characters, and my outline.
Nice.
Write a short plan on how to write scene 1 of the story, according to the outline and list of characters provided. Isn't that cool?
That's cool. So you're getting it to write a plan to write
the scene. And then my second Insta, my second bang says, please read all the story information again. So it's going to get the outline of the characters and all that. It also is going to get the scene 1 writing brief, because so it was told right here, tag this plan as scene 1 writing brief. So I know that that's going to be in my middle section before it does the second bang. And so I know that it's going to say, please read the following story information. And then it's also going to read the story brief. Now, please write scene 1 of the story according to the scene 1 writing brief. Focus only on writing the scene 1 according to the scene 1 writing brief. Make sure it's 2,000 to 3,000 words long. Do not write anything beyond scene 1. Please tag what you write as scene 1. Then on third bang, read all the story information. Also read scene 1 below. I call out scene 1, not the scene 1 story brief, because even though it's in there, I'm directing its attention to scene 1, not story writing brief.
And that's in the Big Bang box in the middle.
That would be in the Big Bang box. I don't get to see it in between the instances. I kind of have to imagine it. Well, we may work on some tooling where people can see it.
Yeah.
Write a short plan on how to write scene 2 of the story according to the outline, and it's going to logically connect it to scene 1.
Yes.
And then have the scene start in media res and on a cliffhanger. Make sure the characters speak uniquely in novel dialogue. The plan should include specific plot details, beats, characterization, and how to write the scene so it meets genre expectations of an Orc Mafia romance. Tag this plan, scene 2, writing brief. And then we do it again. And we did it for 3 scenes. So we did all of this work to get this sequence all going for 3 scenes. So hypothetically, if I change any references to the Orc Mafia romance where my genre expectation is, I would be able to use this for any Notion slots. So my Notion slots could be my PNR dark romance if I replace them.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go to Word Banger. And let's go ahead and you go to the elements. Once you have your B slots loaded, we're going to click bang them. And now they're all loaded.
Amazing.
Yep.
I remember when we were working on this over the summer and we were like, oh, just think of all the things we could do if we could do this, that, and the other thing. And now that we actually have them, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, we've come a long way since August.
We have.
This thing has been built basically in 60 days, I think.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Go, Joseph.
Now, I'm going to go to my AI models. Now, we originally planned for this thing to be using Claude or some bigger model, but I think Mythomax can handle 8,000 tokens as context. So I'm going to actually give it a shot. I'm going to give it a shot with Mythomax. That's what I wanted to show for the last little bit. I know we're hitting our max here. So we're going to use Mythomax, and we're going to do the 3,000. Now, the scenes are going to probably be pretty short because it can only write about 1,200 words for a scene. I think it's right at 1,000 words. And I'm going to just do,
Actually, it's not Mythomax that has the 8,000. It's Weaver Mancer.
Oh, no. Mythomax only has 4?
4,000. I just checked while you were talking.
Okay.
I mean, you could try Weavermancer. Weavermancer is not bad. It's a pretty
Yeah, I
good.
don't know. We'll give Weavermancer a chance.
Okay,
It's
let's give it
the
a
prompting
chance.
isn't designed for it though, but we'll
Yeah.
try. So we'll go ahead and go with let's see. We'll try to get to scene 2. So now
Okay.
please write scene 2 of the story. So we'll do 4 bangs. 1, 2, 3, 4. That should give us scene 1 and scene 2. So we'll see if it can keep the connections, and we'll do auto write, and let's bang with Manser Weaver. I don't think this is going to work because Manser Weaver can only write back 300 words. I just forgot about that. Yeah, it's broken.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Let it write its things, and then
Yeah, this is
we'll
what happens
change.
when you use prompting that's not designed for a model. Like this prompting was not designed for Mythomax, and Mythomax is like, I don't know what you want me to
No,
do.
Weaver wasn't. Yeah.
Weaver,
All right, let's
right,
go over to
Manser Weaver.
Mythomax.
Yeah, let's try Mythomax. I know it can only do 4,000. We're gonna give it a shot. We'll try. I think it'll be okay for 4 bangs.
Let's give it a shot.
We'll give it a shot. Worst case scenario, it doesn't do it. Oh, it's writing scene 1 writing brief. Chaotic orc brawl breaking out in a dimly lit alleyway. Ooh.
Wow.
Wait, that is not the story. That was not the story. I mean, that's a now it's writing the scene.
Yeah.
I mean, it came up with a different like I can't say that that's not the story because honestly, I don't remember what the information is. We'll take a look at it. But it's writing the scene, and it's following the scene of what it has, the dimly lit alleyway, and we have the alleyway and the clans, but I can portray you now, Garrick. I've come to respect you too much. Respect, that's rich coming from a trader like you. Okay, it's definitely in me. The elves are attacking. Okay, she stood her ground. Okay,
All right.
scene 2.
Okay.
Now they're walking through the bustling streets of Adoria. They're discussing their next move. This is a completely different story. This is not the story. There's
So
no
it didn't. So
story.
it's writing story. It's writing a brief for each scene, and then it's writing the scene,
Yeah.
but it hasn't followed the outline that we gave it.
Nope. So we probably need to
Okay.
do a system, follow the outline. Like this needs more research, but
Yeah,
it's
and
getting there.
probably like turn down the temperature even more, maybe, you know, like we're gonna have to massage it a little bit. So,
We
so
are.
sometimes the output that you get can send you in the direction of what kind of changes you need to make, right? So now that we've seen what it can do, which is obviously it can make a brief for each scene, and then it can write the scene, but it didn't follow the outline. We know to go back and make the directions for follow the outline a lot more explicit. This is why Elizabeth and I, when we teach classes, we discuss that there is the iterative nature of prompting. It's like you have to prompt and see what you get, and then you have to change your prompt to conform to what the LLM can actually give you. And then sometimes that has to happen like 2 or 3 times before you can actually get to the desired output that you want.
I mean, we ended up with 1,600 words, but that includes the scene writing brief. So there's definitely promise here for this. I'm going to save this as Griff Mythomax 2 scenes and scene brief, but it's it wasn't great. I'll save that denotion. The last one I want to test real fast. I know we're a few minutes after. I wanted to go ahead while we have everything preloaded here. I'm going to clear the middle part here. So we're using that same thing. Let's check out your metal llama.
Yeah, let's see if one of the llamas can do it.
Let's do the metal llama 70B.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we'll update that, and we'll have 4 bangs, and let's bang the metal llama. But this is really cool, showing that you could have one Blackjack 21 and test it against the different models and make notes, like you were saying, and then make changes to it based on the models that you want to run.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is good. We do have a scene 1 writing brief. It kind of decided to write it. It's got some cool dialogue here. And scene 1. This sets the tone for the story. Cool. All right. I'm not unhappy about this. It's
giving like a little brief about the way that it wrote.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're good. But it didn't. The problem is that it didn't tag it. It didn't put the tags in there. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we got the sun. Take a drink. The sun had long set on Eldoria, casting a deep, dark shadow over the city. The neon lights of the casinos and clubs flickered like fireflies in the distance, beckoning in the unsavory characters that lurked in every alleyway. The air was thick with the smell of smoke and greed, the latter being the lifeblood of the city. Now, that's actually a good line.
Mm-hmm.
In a place where magic and crime intertwined like lovers in a deadly embrace, the strong ruled and the weak cowered. Oh, man. It's not bad at all.
It's not bad.
Problem. What is it, Gorthok? It's the Silver Bell faction boss. They've been making moves on our territory, trying to muscle in on our action. Is that so? The Silverback faction was a pesky bunch, always trying to usurp the Groomsh clan's power, but they were no match for Grimgar's cunning and strength. Gorthok, gather the boys. We're going to pay the Silver Bell a little visit. It's time they learn who they're messing with. Oh, they went on to the... Okay, you're making a big mistake. You're not taking over our territory without a fight. You call this a fight? You're just a bunch of puppies playing at being tough. You may have the upper hand now. We'll not go down without a fight. Okay, cool. This is my pet, Gorthok. He's a demon from the... Where did that come from?
Wow. They wrote a fair amount of words here.
Yeah, but the problem is that there's no Garrick. There's supposed to be Garrick, not Grimgar. I mean, Grimgar's fine. He's the leader, but I don't know this new dude.
Oh, boy.
Garthok. Okay, so scene writing brief. In media res, the leader's rape. Okay, so it's completely hallucinated who the leader is. Her name is Tatiana. Oh, we have Gorthok. No, that's not Garrick. That's Gorthok. Okay. I'm getting my orc names confused.
I guess so. There's a lot of G names.
And we have an artifact. So it's the same problem with this llama where it is just So any of the llamas, we don't have it quite solved yet. We don't have it in the right formatting for it to go to follow this story brief, follow this information. But it didn't write poorly. No. So if we unlock that, I think we'll be off to the races because this could write some really kind of crazy stuff. Formidable foe, Demonic. The leader of the rebels. I'm Lord Octorus, leader of the Eldorian Rebellion. Okay. I thought that was just a myth. We're not a myth.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh, that's such bad writing. Okay.
Well, it's good for a laugh. That's for
good
sure.
job, Metal Llama. $70B. 2 scenes. Banger. Okay. This is a llama 2. Now, what is really cool is, isn't Llama 3 launching soon?
I have only heard some rumblings. I don't know.
But I did hear that they're going to keep it open source. All right. So let me do one last check. I know we're 9 minutes past the hour here. Let me do one last check. Never trust a llama. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm just reading the chat here. I lost you guys. Trial and error, definitely. You have to feel your way through. Can you share the Blackjack 21 Notion link you're working on again? I can't mix because it is. I don't have a link to the actual database because it's on my superstructure page and that has my my AI keys. So I'll be sharing that with the group after I take my AI keys out. Kimberly, we lost Cooper. Oh, when you guys were working together. Gorthok and Grimgar. Wow. I think Dion found him. Oh, we found Cooper. That was when you guys were working on your Rexy party last night. You got him back eventually. Well, that's good to know. And on that note, you guys can see in the chat, the Future Fiction Academy. We're just a group of goofballs. I'm going to go ahead and stop this there. Like,
I know, right?
Professional authors who are figuring out this AI stuff together.
We're we're having a darn good time doing it too.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I'm always laughing and having a great time. This is so much fun.
And even that bit that the AI wrote, I thought you were a myth. We are not a myth. I would like punch up that characterization because like it's making me think like Lord Arcturus is like this I don't want to say like autistic, but like you know how you have like that straight man character that's like
Oh yeah,
we are not a myth. Like that's all he can
like
reminds me of.
deadpan.
Yeah, there's lots that's a character archetype in a lot of different fantasy settings and things like that. Guardians of the Galaxy, for example, what's the big red guy who gets angry? He lost his wife and his kids.
You're asking the wrong person. I'm terrible
Okay.
with the Marvel stuff. Like I can't keep any of it straight.
Yeah, but anyway, the whole point, I bet you it's in chat. I bet they're like, guys, it's this. Drax. Thank you, Michelle. Drax. But it is a character archetype, believe it or not, of like a character who doesn't understand the context. Maybe they're from another planet, maybe they're from another culture, maybe they're from another, whatever. But they take everything very literal.
On Star Trek.
Exactly. So I look at AI as like building with creative Legos. Like you can put all these little archetypes, you can put these little tropes in and you put it in the blender and you get some really cool stuff, crazy stuff out there that comes out. Like a demon hellhound from the abyss. There was nothing in my outline about the abyss. But now I'm forced to consider it as the senior writing partner. Like, could we work that in? Could we add the abyss?
That could be an opportunity.
I mean, maybe that would be fun. It would be a lot of fun. So anyway, I want to thank everyone for joining us this afternoon. We'll be back at 3:00 and it's a special treat. 3:00 Eastern time. So that's in like 50 minutes. Members of the FFA will be hopefully joining me on screen. So if you're in the chat right now, you know that link is in the Discord. You'll be able to join. If you don't have a camera, that's a-okay. As long as you have a microphone, you can still come on stage and talk. And you'll be able to see my screen and everything that we're doing. And we can have that Rexy party y'all were having without me. I'm glad you guys had it. But we can have a Rexy party at 3:00 and really play and everything. So
excellent.
All right. Well, thank you, and I'll see you later.
Bye, guys.